were on Survivor pretty recently.
Like you and I, we just can't play together.
But have you seen any bump in your business from being on Survivor?
To be honest, Liz Wilcox.
Liz is lovingly known as the fresh princess of email marketing.
I'm going to call her a genius, email genius.
Email marketing is a topic that's not new.
It just changed my life and my business, and I wanted to do the same for you.
Yeah, I love that.
It's a newsletter, not a novel. Instead of trying to tell these stories, what if you just became relatable?
You were featured on the Niche Pursuits website.
I think it said something like I was making $20,000 a month. It's been less than 2 years. I've since doubled that.
Maybe we'll start from the top.
Your job isn't to make money. It's to find a problem that needs solving.
Smart.
No one is going to invest in you if they don't believe you're first invested in them.
I'm taking notes.
The more visible you can become online, the more your email list is going to grow.
I feel like this is a good time to bring it up. How do you get them to understand and then start to have buy-in for, kind of spending some money with you?
Yeah, the simplest way.
All right, welcome back to the Niche Pursuits podcast. My name is Jared Bauman. Today, we are joined by Liz Wilcox. Liz, welcome on board.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
It's going to be great to have you here today. We've got a lot we're talking about. You actually were featured on the Niche Pursuits website, and the story was so interesting that we thought that you might as well come on the podcast and tell it and talk about what you're doing. But before we get into that, why don't you give us a little background on yourself, give us some backstory, and let us into who Liz is.
Yeah, so that feeling you get when you listen to an amazing podcast like this, and there's some wild person screaming about email marketing and saying, for every dollar you spend with email, you can get $40 in return. Now go, go, go. And so, you finish the podcast, you log into ActiveCampaign or ConvertKit or something like that, and then you promptly feel kind of silly because you have no idea what the heck to write. Well, what's up? I'm Liz Wilcox, and I help eliminate that problem. I actually started off as an RV travel blogger. That's how I got really good at email marketing. And now you see and hear me today, singing the praises of email marketing because it just changed my life and my business, and I wanted to do the same for you.
Email marketing is a topic that's not new, right? People have been doing email marketing for a really long time, but at the same time, it's certainly coming back in vogue for a lot of people as they look at, what to do with all the content they have. So it's almost right time, right place for you. How did you venture in? I mean, I know that you have some background in website building and even selling a project or two. Like, can you give us a little background on how you landed into the RV lifestyle, the website building, and how you got here today?
Yeah, so I started as that RV travel blogger that we talked about. And, I started researching, I bought the domain and I started researching, how do you make money on the internet? And I heard about blogging and email marketing and everything. And I said, well, certainly I could do that. I have a background in education. I have a master's degree in leadership. No, I've never built a website, but, if that guy I saw on the webinar can do it, surely I can do that. So very naively, I thought, oh, I'm going to be a millionaire in 2 years, right? And I started building my website. And again, like everybody and their mother was saying, you build the website, you do the SEO, you get on social media, and it all leads back to this email thing. And you collect the email addresses because you own them. And that's how you're going to get the most bang for your buck. That's how you're going to sell affiliate products, your own products, services, find clients, etc., through this relationship that you build with the email list. So I actually launched my website, my blog, and my email list on the same day. And within 6 or 7 months, I launched my first digital product. Everybody and their mother, create your own product. So I did that. And I ended up making about $7,000 in the first 90 days. It got picked up by an international sponsor. And here's the kicker. Whatever you're doing, it's going to sell more than me because this was a book on the black tank. And if you don't know, the black tank in an RV is where your sewage goes. And so it was, that. Right? I love that Jared knows that. And so there's going to be a quiz at the end, guys.
Okay.
And
I'm taking notes.
it just inspired me like, wow, I can sell these silly little stories about, tales from the Black Tank, terrible stories that happened to RVers. And it actually sold via email. And so I gained that momentum. I kept going. I launched project after project. And it wasn't until I launched my very first digital course, like the big kahuna, and I had 141 people on my wait list, and I made 141 sales by cart close day. And that's when word started getting around. That's when digital marketers, which I didn't even really know that term, they started asking, well, how are you doing that? I said, oh, well, I had an email list, duh. And they were like, yeah, but you shouldn't be converting that high. I said, well, nobody should on themselves. So that's when I knew I needed to, like Jared said, sell that business and go all in on email marketing. And that was about December 2019. I sold that business.
Hey everyone, Spencer here, founder of the Niche Pursuits podcast. Last year, the traffic to nichepursuits.com more than tripled, with most of those gains coming from Google. In fact, I finally hit the 1 million page views per month milestone. In order to achieve this growth, my team and I publish over 100 articles a month. The final step for each of those articles? We build at least one new internal link to that article using Link Whisper. This helps index it faster and helps it rank better in Google. This also helps us avoid having any orphaned posts in the future. If you want to give your new articles the best chance possible, you need to build a process around internal linking when you publish. It only takes a few seconds with Link Whisper to get suggestions and check the box next to the internal links you want. They are all built automatically once you've made your selections. No need to go into each article, find a relevant sentence, highlight the anchor text, and add the internal link. Link Whisper does all this automatically once you've made your selection. If you want to try out Link Whisper, just head over to linkwhisper.com and use coupon code podcast at checkout in order to get $15 off.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's interesting to hear that you got so much success from launching. Basically, what it comes down to, you said, is launching a website and an email list at the same time. I mean, we could talk about that project or some of the projects you're working on now, but I think the meat and potatoes of what we're talking about today is email marketing and your tips basically for scaling. I mean, maybe if I could just transition by asking, what's the one thing that you didn't do with that first project that you have learned and are doing now? You went on to sell that first project and now you're doing a lot more of email marketing, but like, what have you learned since then?
I think the biggest thing I didn't do was email enough. If I would have emailed more, I would have, probably got twice as much for the business. At the time I started small, but I don't think it was a mistake, right? We all need to start small. You don't build a wall, you just lay one brick at a time, right? And, each brick you lay is going to be, stronger and better than the next. But I think what Jared just said, it all boils down to email. I find that the more that I email, the more connected to my list I feel, the more that I sell, the more happy I am in my business, and the more I actually want to work on my business. I think something that I did right in my first business was just leaning into the connection of the email list. It's not about the size of your email list. It's about that connection that you have with your audience. I think, if you've been in the game longer than 6 months, you pretty much figure that out quickly, especially if you're trying to take clients. They might be ready to buy, but are they ready to buy from you? And that's what email marketing can do. And that's what, even in these later projects that I've created, I've found to just be truer and truer. It's just, how can I quickly connect and truly connect with these people so they know I'm the right person to buy from?
So as we get into the details, what are you working on right now? Like, what are your projects that you're spending your time on right now?
Yeah, I've had a membership. It's a $9 membership. I've had it about 3.5 years, and that's my biggest project to date. As of right now, the time of this recording, Q2 in 2024, we've got about between 4,000 and 4,500 people in there. I can't remember the exact number. And I'm trying to get to 10,000. And so my big, little mini projects within that are just list building, doing things like getting on podcasts and trying to find people for that. And also, how do I make this the best freaking $9 you ever spent in your life. I've spent this whole year revamping the website and zhuzhing up the templates to make sure they're perfect for people, and, getting in front of my community, like Jared and I just talked about, connecting with folks, and just, how can I make this the best, and how can I make it the best on the market? So that's my biggest project, where all the other little mini projects live within.
Okay. Well, good. Well, let's get into it. Let's learn about email marketing here. Let's start talking about it. I mean, maybe we'll start from the top. What are some initial steps and strategies that you're finding are successful that people can learn from in terms of, I guess we'll probably focus first on maybe growing your email list.
Yeah, so growing your email list, really it's all about visibility. You remember Tia and Tamara, or Mary Kate and Ashley in the 90s, right? Sure, they're
You're dating
different.
me here, but yes, I do.
I do remember it also. And for me, that's the same with visibility and list building. Like, sure, they're different, but I can't really tell them apart. The more visible you become online, whether you're doing that with SEO, podcast guesting, guest blogging, media appearances, the more visible you can become online, the more your email list is going to grow. I happen to do a lot of podcast guesting because I find I've got a solid framework, some good stories, and I've actually done over 300 podcasts in 3 years. Wow. And so you can probably, hear this and say, oh yeah, she's done this a time or two, right? So lean into your strengths. You can Google 1,000,001 list building strategies and ideas, but which one stands out to you as, oh yeah, I'd be good at that? Or, oh my gosh, 300 podcasts, that would give me hives. And, so maybe you grow on something like Substack or Medium, or you do guest blogging, or you find yourself to be a contributor on MarTech or something like that, right? So pick the list building strategy that fits you, your capabilities, and your capacity, and that's how you're really going to grow your list.
You obviously have turned to being a guest on podcasts. I think maybe to help people better understand, what are the tactics inside of the tactic that leads to having your email list grow? For example, I'm going to give you a chance at the end here to mention how people can sign up for your email list. But what are the what do you find are helpful tips for, in your example, going on a podcast and actually driving people to join your list? And I think it goes back to the initial question that you were answering, which is to kind of engage with your audience in a very real way. But I'm just curious, I would hate for people to say, okay, I'm going to go on a bunch of podcasts, but then not end up getting a bunch of email subscribers to their list. How do you turn that visibility into new leads, into subscribers, basically?
Yeah, I love this question. So to actually get someone off of the podcast onto my website takes a little bit of work, right? You're likely listening to this. Maybe you're doing the dishes, you're driving, you're going for a run, right? You're likely doing something else. And so it's not going to be easy for you to go to my website and, sign up for my list. So number one, I have to impress you, right? I have to practice what I'm going to say. Number two, before we even hit record, Jared and I, the host, we're talking about, what are we going to say? What are the questions you're going to ask me, etc. And so I have to make sure what I'm talking about on the show leads directly into what we call the lead magnet, right? The reason you sign up. For example, in my RV travel site, if I was on a podcast, I would talk very specifically about a topic that I knew about and that led to my lead magnet. Do you want to get on the road full time in your RV? My lead magnet would be something like, 5 ways you can get on the road in an RV with explanations or whatever. We're going to go deeper than I did on the podcast, right? Has to be directly related. On most podcasts, I talk a lot about your welcome sequence because I find that to be the number one thing that people flub up. What is my lead magnet? Oh, nothing but a welcome sequence. What a coincidence. That's exactly what I need, Liz, right? And so it's the same as if you're running ads, you're doing SEO. When people are clicking, is it a very straightforward path, customer journey? Are we leading them to the next step, to the next step, to the next step? That's how you're going to nail, not only your podcast interview, but getting people, after they go for a run, to go to your website and download your thing.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, you're asking someone to make a commitment, even though it is just sign up for a free email newsletter. And I think I hear a lot of people echo that when they're doing other types of list building. If maybe they have a pop-up on their website from their traffic that comes from SEO efforts, and they're like, it's not converting, and so same tactics apply. You have something, speaking of our agenda and talking about the podcast ahead of time, you have something that you call the email staircase method. I feel like this is a good time to bring it up. Talk to us about this.
Yeah, so this is my methodology, how I look at email marketing. A lot of marketers, and maybe you're a marketer listening, right? We tend to complicate things. We think of things in, 1,000,001 steps. And, I just talked about this straightforward path. And for me, I always say I'm a 2-step chick. If it takes more than 3 steps, I'm out. And likely you are too, especially when it comes to email. There's so many reasons why we put it, at the bottom of our list, because it just seems complicated. So the email staircase is just a simple way of looking at email and applying it. So first you have a follower, right? We already talked about that. Get them on your email list. Then you can turn them into a friend. And once you have a list full of friends, you have a list full of customers. So it goes follower, friend, customer. And it's just this, like, a very simplified version of the customer journey and how we can write our emails to take these new followers, these new email addresses, these new people on our list, turn them into friends, which we can talk about. And then once we have a list full of friends, say, hey, I know, because we're truly connected, right? I know you said this, so I created that. Would you like it?
I'm taking notes. Let's talk about each of those if we can. And I think maybe the order of operations. Could you walk through the order of operations there and how you kind of build that out?
Yeah, so follower, right? We already talked a lot about this with Jared, about the visibility strategies. Again, pick your visibility strategy, go hard with it. The one thing I'll add is make sure your ecosystem is set up for leads, right? We don't want to get on, the largest podcast ever, or, get on the Today Show and somebody goes to our website and our lead magnet isn't there, right? So make sure your website is designed to capture leads. Maybe even your social media, the link in bio has something for your lead magnet, et cetera. Make sure that ecosystem is set up to capture those leads. If you're running ads, you already know just how important that is, right? And so that's the follower, right? And get them on your list. Get more eyeballs, get them on your list. The friend, this isn't, your friend you spill all your dirty laundry to, right? This is a friend that you have a mutual interest and a mutual vision with, right? My vision for you is you make money with email. Oh my gosh, Liz, that's my vision for myself too. Great, we're on the same page. We're friends in that manner. So when you have a friend on your list, or how do you make a friend on your list, you just got to do 3 things. Number 1, show you're invested. No one is going to invest in you if they don't believe you are first invested in them, right? Especially if you're making online sales, right? Or you're selling high ticket. They've got to know Jared's in this with me. Shahara's in this with me, right? So invest in them in your emails. Share how you listen to this podcast, how you spend an hour doing this or that, right? You might think, oh, they don't really care about that, but it shows that you're invested in the process and the work with them. Number 2, show that you're relatable. A lot of marketers, we want to tell stories and we want to tell other people to tell stories. And sure, stories, they sell and they help you connect. I've shared a few stories already and we're 20 minutes in or so? Not even. But at the end of the day, it's a newsletter. We're talking about email. It's a newsletter, not a novel. So instead of trying to tell these stories, what if you just became relatable? Things like, oh, my refrigerator broke. I tried to do a podcast and I totally blew it because I was so nervous. I, had to take my dog for a walk before I emailed you. Those are just quick personal updates, but they make you really relatable. Like, oh yeah, I took my dog for a walk today, or I only ever had a dog when I was 5. We start to relate to you just by saying those quick, simple things. And then the last thing to stay a friend in the inbox is just to stay top of mind, right? You can't email today and email in a month from now and expect to truly connect. Remember, Jared and I talked about that at the top of the hour, right? We've got to stay top of mind. But when you do the first two things, when you show how invested you are, when you become really relatable, staying top of mind actually becomes a lot simpler for you. Any thoughts?
The big question that comes out of this for me is the idea of, let me ask you, how to blend what the technology offers you versus what you do with how you write. So you talk about making a personal connection, turning a follower into a friend, turning that friend into somebody that trusts you. And you can do that through the content you create. Can you also do that through some of the tools that you have, through the personalization efforts, through the type of content that you're sending them, through other tips that you can use technology to help with?
Yeah, I love what Jared's asking. So, of course, with email marketing, there are very simple automations you can set up. You need a welcome sequence. If I join your list, right, I listen to you on a podcast, I join your list, you need an automation that welcomes me onto and into your world, right? Hey, Liz, thanks for joining. This is my vision. This is a little bit about me, and this is where we're going together, and this is how we're going to do it. Oh, yeah. And here are some of my, paid products, depending on your objectives for the email, right? So you definitely want to use that automation. You can also use, because we want to get to know our customers, but sometimes that can take a long time. But, luckily we're in this world with AI. So you can use something like ChatGPT to help you with your customer research, typing in things like, what RV travel full-timers think about this destination, have questions about, renovations, right? It will pool all the data for you, where back in the day, we'd have to spend hours and hours, reading through YouTube comments and Reddit forums, right? So let that let that technology help you with the research. So to Jared's point, you can go and write the best emails possible. But to counter what Jared's saying about tools and things like that, I think he was hinting towards, segmenting. If you click this, you're going to get a segment or a sequence all about this. I caution against segmenting your list or doing too many automations with too many tools too quickly, because again, you need to learn what your audience is doing and who's actually signing up first. A lot of times, who we think is on our email list is not actually on our email list. Who we think we're attracting with that lead magnet is not actually the same person. So I do recommend with email marketing, number one, if you haven't started it, give it about a year before you try to start segmenting and getting really fancy with your funnel work. And now if you are emailing and you have been for 2-3+ years, but your emails aren't working, your funnels aren't funneling, as the cool kids would say, I want you to, try to go back to basics. Just send regular newsletters. On a Tuesday, I'm going to send a newsletter every week for 6 months, and I'm just going to literally pay attention to what people are clicking on, what fell flat, what, was awesome and I need to do again, right? Just, again, going back to truly connecting with your audience. And of course, if you are emailing, you've been emailing a while and it's working, just like I said, send more emails.
Going back to, I would ask you a two-part question, but I'll start with the first part. You mentioned this earlier, the lead magnet. Talk about, lead magnets over the years have evolved and have changed, and I think we're all used to certain types of lead magnets, but how do you figure out what a good lead magnet is, and how do you optimize that lead magnet to just perform better for your target market and get more people in the door?
Asking about the lead magnet is one of my favorite questions. Thanks so much. We need to pause, give 5-star review. Jared's amazing with these questions. So remember I mentioned, about 10 minutes ago about the vision that you have for people that sign up for your email list. And mine is, I want you to make money with email marketing. I don't care about anything else. I don't care about your social media, your SEO, your blog. All I care about is your email list and the fact that it's monetized. That's my vision for you. So really think about what your vision is for your potential client, student, member, whatever you want to call that person. Now we need to take it back to the first step. So envision that person like enrolling in your university, Liz Wilcox University. That degree is Make Money with Email. What's the first day of class look like, right? That's the lead magnet. I already mentioned my lead magnet is a welcome sequence because I think that's the very first thing you need before you even start building your email list. Let's get that thing set up first, right? You got to put gas in the car before you start it. And so think about your vision. Now take it back to class, that first day of class. What resource, tool, message do they need in order to get going on that first day? Now, Jared also asked about formatting, what's the style we should have? Well, now we're thinking about who's sitting in on that first day of class, right? If they're a busy mom, maybe it shouldn't be a 5-day email course, right? Maybe it's, hey, I need you to have this message, so I'm going to make a private podcast for you, right? I'm going to teach you via audio so you can have it on the go. But if you are working with full-time entrepreneurs or full-time corporate people that have to learn, let's say, data viz, for example, they have the time for that 5-day email course. You could probably send them 30-minute videos every single day. It really depends on whose, butt is in that chair on the first day of class, how you should craft that lead magnet.
Hey everyone, Spencer here, founder of Niche Pursuits. So you probably know the importance of building internal links so your site can perform well in Google. Today I want to share how Link Whisper can help you add outbound internal links to your articles. As you draft your article in WordPress, Link Whisper scans your site, identifying the best internal link opportunities. It then recommends the perfect anchor text and link to add. With just a click, your content is updated with new internal links. No more expensive tools or tedious manual site searches. Link Whisper does the heavy lifting right inside the WordPress editor. Say goodbye to the hassle of internal linking. With Link Whisper, you can focus on what you do best, creating great content. Use the coupon code PODCAST today and get $15 off. Elevate your website's internal linking with Link Whisper now. Building smart internal links just got easier. Go to linkwhisper.com today and be sure to use coupon code PODCAST to get $15 off.
So you keep talking about, I have to ask you for tips on the welcome sequence. And I think for those of you who are listening who don't have a welcome sequence, I think you would say get one. But for people who have a welcome sequence, and how do they evaluate if it's performing well, and how do they, what tips can they take to make a better welcome sequence?
Well, number one, if you have one, it's probably too long, or the emails in them are too long. Remember, we're starting a friendship. They're not our friends yet, so we don't actually have to, share a bunch of stories and give our background and this, that, and the other. It could be a really simple sequence, right? We're climbing that email staircase where they're not our friends yet. So I mentioned a little bit earlier in the welcome sequence, you want to showcase a little personality. What is it about you that stands out, right? Jared mentioned I was featured in Niche Pursuits and now I'm on the podcast. There are 1,000,001 email marketers out there, but there's something about Liz that says, okay, yeah, let's follow up with her, right? Could it be my obsession with the 90s? Could it be the fact that I was on a TV show? Those are little pieces of me that I can put in my welcome sequence. So what are just little pieces of yourself? This doesn't have to be deep. It can be very surface level that you can put in the welcome sequence. Oh, I love the 90s. I drink, Diet Coke. I watch this show on this day every single week, and I have for 20 years, right? Just very surface level personality to help people remember who you are, especially if you're running ads to your lead magnet or, people might be signing up for a lot of your competition. You just want that little piece to help you stand out. The second thing, again, that vision. If you do nothing else, share the vision. Hey, you just got on the bus. You just enrolled in class. Here's where we're going together. That's the biggest mistake I see. People don't share where you're going once you're on the email list. And the last thing are a little bit of your values. This isn't to say spew your politics everywhere, But there are certain clients you want to work with or certain principles that drive the way you do business. You want to share that in your welcome sequence. For example, we mentioned my membership. My membership is $9. A lot of people might say, oh, well, it must be worth nothing. But the value, like, especially people like me, email marketers charge a lot of money. It's like, why is this only $9? It must be nothing. But really, it's my background in education. I believe in inclusivity and everyone has a right to an education. And guess what? Email changed my life. I wanted to change yours. And so I share that directly in my welcome sequence so the expectation is set. Oh, this is where we're going. This is why we're going there, right? So again, that's personality, vision, and values. And the last thing I want to share, please, the same way every single time you open up your podcast app, you click on Jared's podcast and he says, welcome to Niche Pursuits. Today we're going to talk about XYZ. And we've got this person and do this and do that. He's setting the expectations for the show, right? We've got to set expectations for our email list. This is who I am. This is where we're going. This is why we're going there. And I'm going to offer you free and paid products. We got to flip that switch from, hey, you just got a freebie to, hey, I offer real solutions.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lot.
That was a lot. It was all good, though. I hope people go back and listen to that. Each one of those were really important. I could break down each of them individually and talk all about it. I think you're exactly right. I do, by the way, I will say this one thing. I do think that is from what I've seen, to echo what you said, like a huge problem that a lot of people have is transitioning people from, say, a freebie mindset to a paid mindset. And at some point, you've almost trained people to not expect to have to engage in that sort of relationship, right? And so I'd be curious to hear how you do that, whether it's a welcome sequence or whether you do it down the road. How do you start to transition people into understanding that, yes, you got a free lead magnet product. Yes, you got something really valuable. Yes, I'm sharing a ton of value with you, whether it's weekly or daily or, infrequently, whatever it is. How do you get them to understand and then start to have buy-in for, kind of spending some money with you?
Yeah, the simplest way, there's kind of three things you should do. Number one, have something called a tripwire. When I join your email list, instead of going to a thank you, check your email now page, it goes to a limited time offer sales page. It's at the time of this recording, 2024. Everybody knows they got to go to their email to get the thing, right? We don't need a thank you page. But what we do need to do, to Jared's point, is flip the switch for people. Hey, I offer real solutions. This is a real business. So having a tripwire page, having usually a small offer for a small price, helps people understand like, oh, this person has paid solutions. That's great. It just kind of puts, takes the freebie cap off and puts the, yep, okay, I'm talking to a business cap on, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is what we just said in that welcome sequence. This one sentence will change your life. I know you're driving, so I've made it really simple for you. I am going to offer you free and paid products, free and paid services, free and paid resources, whatever words you want to use. And then you can even sub-bullet. If and when you have these products, you can say, like my $9 a month membership, like my one-on-one site audit, like my, completely done for you website building services, whatever. And then you link out. Now, don't expect to make $1,000,001 from that one little sub-bullet. But do expect to start turning the tide for people, flipping that switch from, oh, I just got this free thing I'm never going to open, to, oh, wow, Jared knows what he's talking about. He has these services. This is great. That's just actually what I needed. So I'm interested in learning more. Now, throughout your newsletters, right, these weekly emails we're going to be sending out, you can sprinkle in sales. You can have something called the super signature. P.S. When you're ready, here are ways I can help you. And it's that same as that sub-bullet in the welcome sequence we said, right? You can also sprinkle in sales. Oh, a great, really fun email to do. I call it my 3+3. It's just, give 3 facts, like fun facts about yourself, and then say, oh, here are 3 ways I can also help you. And boom, boom, boom. Just really simple, sprinkling in those sales. And then, of course, you got to launch, right? You got to plan to launch. If you're just listening, you can't see me, but I've got an entire calendar behind me, and it's my whole year planned out with launches, right? If you don't plan to sell, you're gonna, not sell anything, right? So you've got to map out, in April, I'm gonna sell this. In October, I'm gonna have this, right? So you just gotta map those things out.
I love that, by the way. Just that's my nerd kind of passion, is a map like that. Last summer, at the beginning of the summer, I looked at my calendar and I was like, oh my gosh, we've got, family vacations and, this is going on and that's going on. I went on a Saturday morning to a coffee shop and I mapped out my entire next 14 weeks of emails and what I was going to talk about and all the stuff that was going to be associated with them. And man, I can't remember a time I felt so accomplished in my life. So
I love that. I'm applauding you. And y'all, if you're listening and you're like, I can't map out my whole year or 14 weeks. It took me 8 years of business to, get to a place where it's like, yes, this is exactly how I want my year to look, right? And also there's a lot of flexibility, right? I've got this launch in April, that one in August, but then the other weeks, I have the freedom, like Jared said, there's 14 weeks in the middle here. What am I going to do with that? Sometimes I map it out if for example, I'm taking the entire summer off, so I'm mapping out all of those months. But other times, like the last 4 months, I'm like, I'm just going to play it by ear, whatever. Like today is my newsletter day. I wrote the newsletter 20 minutes before coming on this podcast and hit send, right? So give yourself a little bit of both, right? Like give yourself the discipline it takes to, put in those launch dates, right? But also reward yourself with flexibility on those times you're not launching.
So we have talked about how to transition your audience from a free mindset to a paid mindset. And I think what a lot of people might be wondering is, how do I come up with products or a product to sell? Like, how do I ideate about a product? And that is one of the things I hear a lot of people talk about. They make the transition button a list, but then struggle on the monetization side of things. Some people don't have a good product to monetize, and so they end up not making much money off their list. Other people that at least that I've talked to and heard as I kind of prepared for this interview say, I have a product, but it's not selling well. And I'll send an email out and no one buys, or very few people buy. So I think there's two sides to come at it. But in general, let's talk about your tips for good products, how to come up with them, how to make them, how to produce them, what products work well, and how to evaluate them.
Yeah, I think it was Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad guy, that said it best. He said, your job isn't to make money, it's to find a problem that needs solving. And so it goes back to what we said at the top of the hour about truly connecting with your audience. When you can truly connect, when you can get that first party data, Jared's replying to Liz, Liz is replying to Justin, right? That's when you're going to stop guessing and you're going to start knowing. So really, taking the time, taking the advice of everything we've said this hour and saying okay, yes, I'm going to start talking with my subscribers. After a while, you're going to kind of know what they need, right? I never would have made that silly book about, black tank stories if it wasn't for my audience. I'd been emailing about 6 months ago, I was emailing about 6 months, and I asked people, because it was kind of all over the place. Maybe it's like I tried this product, I tried that, nothing's really selling. So finally I just asked, why the heck do you follow me? I'm all over the place. Sometimes I'm talking about being a mom, other times I'm talking about RVing, et cetera, et cetera. And the people that did reply, not that it was a plethora, I had about 300 people on my email list and maybe 7 of them replied. Mm-hmm. And they said, well, Liz, you tell a good story, or Liz, you're just really funny. So what did I come up with? A book of funny stories about RVing, right? So I never would have written that book or even thought of it if I hadn't been connecting with my audience. And it's the exact same with this email marketing membership I have. It was, Liz, how do I write a newsletter? How do I write a newsletter? I hate writing newsletters. So what the heck did I create? I'll just write the newsletter for you. Give me $9. Literally, my subject line for launching that was, can I have $9? And it just was bullets of what you were going to get, come and join me, right? So I think when it comes to creating products, Jared said two things, like, how do I do it? Well, just start talking to people. And we even mentioned ChatGPT might be able to help you. You know, what are people saying about XYZ? Finding that problem that needs solving. And then if you have created something and it's not selling, maybe you actually aren't selling it, right? You sent one email, maybe you need to send 5, right? With that 100% conversion rate, if I'd only sent one email, I probably only made 20 sales, not 141, right? And then, asking people, and I know it's kind of cringe, as the cool kids nowadays say, but, why didn't you buy? Hey, can we get on the phone? I know, especially if you're doing online sales, it's like, oh, I can do everything on the internet. But getting on a Zoom or getting on a phone call, moving out of DMs and onto the phone, that is going to help you so much more than, gathering your metrics, using ChatGPT to see what the heck's going on, studying other competitors, getting on the phone with people that have actually seen your offer. Oh my gosh, that is going to be a game changer for you.
What are the different types of product types, I guess, that people could consider, right? You have a membership and, you've shared it's $9 a month and here's the type of stuff you get. Obviously, you can produce a course, you can sell an ebook. Like, what are the different things that you see do well or are good opportunities? Because the reason why I bring this up, just for clarity, is you can solve a problem, and that's a good way to think about what type of product to make, but then you can solve it in a variety of mediums, whether it's a membership or whether it's a digital download or something. So that's why I'm kind of transitioning into that topic and just getting your tips on which ones for people to consider.
I love this. I think you should create the product that sounds exciting for you. When I created that ebook, I was excited to explore Canva and I liked to write. So I created it in Canva. Okay. So thinking, of course, take your audience into consideration, right? We already talked about that. If you're, if you've got a list full of single moms, maybe don't create, a 5-module course, right? Maybe it's an ebook or an audio book, right? So taking your audience into consideration, but taking into consideration what the heck you want to sell. I mentioned my membership. We've got, over 4,000 people in there in 3 years. I have to talk about that product every single day of my life, right? Especially at $9, I've really got to push that thing, right? Volume, volume, volume. But I love it. I love the membership model. I like the recurring revenue. I like that it's just a simple template membership. So it focuses on my strengths, community, and writing. So what would make you excited? Would it be creating a big course because you've got a lot in your brain and you just can't wait to share every single detail? Is it something simple because, you like talking? So, it's an audio course. Thinking about, how can I marry the two of what my audience needs and wants and what the heck I can get excited to sell is really, really key. As far as specific examples, you can sell templates, you can sell audits, you can sell checklists, printables, ebooks, courses, audio courses, memberships. I don't know. What else, Jared? What have you been seeing that you thought was really cool that's different lately?
Memberships are great, I think, and that's why I've seen people do really well with memberships because it's something where people can get accountability and then get that personalized relationship. I think that's great. I've also seen a lot more. Yes, there's courses, but combination of mediums. So you get a course plus a membership. And you get a course plus a live online training. And so kind of combining some of those things, I've seen more people do and talk about how it's really helped kind of crack the code because you're potentially, I haven't done this, but you're potentially meeting different sets of people with different opportunities, but bringing them all together.
Yeah, I'm so glad I asked you that question because that's something I've been doing all year with this calendar behind me. I'm doing 5, I'm calling them like paid live training. So live workshops, because I'm finding, especially in 2024, people want to get stuff done, right? Gone are the days of, oh yeah, I'll just buy that and, let it sit on my hard drive.
Yep.
consumers really want something that's very, actionable. And so I've been selling all year these paid live trainings. Come to the live training. We're going to get on Zoom, 1 to 3 hours depending. And then with it, you're going to get, a template for your writing or, whatever our supplemental needs. And then what I'm doing is I'm even offering co-working and accountability, again, to get stuff done. If you can help somebody get something done, in this post-pandemic world, like, you're an angel from heaven, right? So on top of that, like as bonus, it's, come to this workshop. You're also going to get, 3 days of co-working where we just sit, I time you, we use the power of body doubling, you'll get it done. And then with this last training I did, I also offered 2 weeks of email accountability where I would email them every few days, say, hey, are you on track to finish this in the next 2 weeks? Are you on track? Hey, do you need anything? Hey, pop over in the Facebook group, share your progress. And I've saw a lot of people say, I never would have gotten this done, even if I just came to the training, if I didn't have that co-working, if I didn't have the accountability. So that's something I'm getting really excited about this year and beyond to like actually help people do the thing.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, courses have been around for a while, but courses require you to do a lot of work. So you buy it and you're like, oh man, I got to invest a lot of time, which isn't bad, but solving someone's problem and actually helping them get it done is really good perspective. So let's transition a bit. You've seen your business grow, I think, quite a bit. You and I were talking about that before we hit record, and you've seen it grow quite a bit. What have been the big drivers of growth for you? It's interesting to be talking about email marketing to someone whose business is based around email marketing. So it's a very meta question, I suppose. But like, what have been the big drivers for you in growth? And maybe unpack those a little bit.
Yeah. So when I first was introduced to niche pursuits and I had my article, which I'm sure will be linked up here, I think it said something like I was making $20,000 a month. And I've since doubled that. And I think it's been less than 2 years. So there's been a lot of growth. I think the biggest thing for me has been affiliates. So I'm sure you're familiar with affiliate marketing. Somebody sells your thing, you give them a commission, right? So with even my little $9 membership, I actually give 50% recurring commission to anyone who will share it. And I've noticed that, no, I'm not getting gigantic affiliates, who make tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I get my members, right? Let's say Jared shares with Lisa. Lisa shares with Shahara. Shahara shares with Warren, right? And that's all I really need. And at this point, after 3 years, I have over 1,000 affiliates. And I believe in 2023, I paid out over $60,000 in commission from that $4.50 little price tag. So that's been a huge, I know it's wild. That's been a huge driver of growth for me is affiliate marketing, actually.
Smart. That's really interesting to think about, especially as somebody thinks about their email newsletter. I know ConvertKit does this really cool thing when you're on their platform where they have, I think they call it the creator network, but you can kind of recommend each other, your friends, your colleagues, your other people that are in your niche that have a newsletter as well. That's not a product offering, but you can also get paid to recommend other people who want new subscribers. And I know people who have a burgeoning list and they make the majority of their income on their newsletter from recommending other people and other places to subscribe. Sorry, I can't get my words out today. So many different ways to grow your list and to grow your business. Now, I have to let the cat out of the bag a little bit here to ask you about it. You were on Survivor pretty recently, and I'm just curious. I mean, obviously, we could do a whole podcast on Survivor. I'm sure you've done a million of those. This is a business podcast, so I'm going to keep it business. But have you seen any bump to your business, which is not related to Survivor, by the way, but have you seen any bump in your business from being on Survivor?
To be honest, I've gotten a lot more speaking opportunities being on the show. And at the time of this recording, the show is still going on. I haven't been voted out yet. And so the more that I'm on the show, the more people start to reach out. Oh, Liz, I've been meaning to ask you to get on my podcast, or can you come speak to my group? And so it's been a little bit of a boost there. So I think I'll start to see more effects, in the next few months as those interviews come out. But right now it's still pretty much the same. But I do want to say what's been very interesting is, Survivor, they have their own agenda, and you don't go on there to get, famous or grow your business. But they have portrayed me as this very rich, successful email marketer. And it's been very funny. They've shown my full name and my business on there, saying, oh, I'm Liz Wilcox and I own a business where I teach content creators how to email market. And that was in the very first episode. And I was like, wow, I can't believe they were so specific. They left my entire elevator pitch in there. And so I did see in the very beginning, again, a lot of new subscribers. Hey, I saw you on Survivor. I have my own business. But also a lot of, hey, I'm running this event this summer. I'd love for you to come speak. And so it's been interesting. I didn't go on there to be the entrepreneur lady, but it's been it's been an awesome side effect that I don't think my business will grow super fast during the airing of the show. But I think, Q3 and Q4, I'll probably see a lot of effects as the show ends that people will say oh yeah, I want to go check her out.
Well, here at Niche Pursuits, we can say we knew you when, we knew you before all of that happened, because first you had an article several years old, and then we interviewed you before, I guess the outcome comes out. Although I don't know when this podcast episode's actually released. So who knows where you'll be in that process when this podcast episode comes out.
I do, but I won't tell.
Yeah, fair enough. And I'm not going to ask. Hey, as we bring this thing to a close, sometimes I ask this when I have a guest on that seems to have a wealth of information. I want to make sure I didn't leave any stone unturned. Is there anything that I didn't ask you about that you think is important that people hear as it relates to, this concept of growing your business through an email newsletter?
Yeah, I think I just want to reiterate just how simple email can be. A lot of us, again, we try to complicate things and we think marketing has to look a certain way or feel, like it's 1,000,001 steps. But when you just get started, when you just, write your welcome sequence, get some newsletters out there, start, talking with your audience, you're going to be able to create products that sell, feel good about what you're talking about, and monetize your list. So I'm so excited for you to get going with your email. Again, email changed my life. I know it can change yours too. Thanks for having me, Jared.
Where can people follow along with what you're doing? Potentially get signed up for your membership and just learn more about what you have going on.
Yeah, of course, I'm an email marketer. I'd love for you to join my list. You can go directly to lizwilcox.com. In the top right-hand corner, there's a hot pink button. You can't miss it. That's where you're going to get that. That's where you're going to get, right, hot pink, emphasis on hot and pink. Okay. And so you're going to get that entire welcome sequence when, if you couldn't conceptualize showing off that personality, vision, and values, I've already written it for you. You're also going to get 3 newsletter samples from my membership. One to show you how to get people to click, another how to get people to reply, and another how to get people to buy directly from your newsletter. And if that's not enough, 52 subject lines for a year full of prompts, writing from scratch. It totally sucks. Let me do it for you. LizWilcox.com, hot pink button.
Love it. Lots of value there. If people want to learn how to give a lot of value in their lead magnet, that's probably a pretty good example. Liz, thank you for coming on. This hour has flown by. I appreciate everything you've shared. And we'll have to keep in touch with you as things progress.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening to the Niche Pursuits podcast. I just wanted to remind you that if you are ready to start building smarter, faster, and easier internal links, you should check out Link Whisper. You can get $15 off Link Whisper when you use the coupon code PODCAST at checkout. Head over to linkwhisper.com and use the code PODCAST in order to save $15. Thanks again for listening.